The reason that I bring up the question of whether human life is now considered sacred is because of the many people, mainly on the left, but not entirely on the left, who seem to believe that the answer is, at the very least, qualified. That somehow violence can be justified in individual cases. And this would be almost a textbook example of terrorism. It is, in fact, terrorism when you are attempting to affect political change through murder this way. There are a group of people on the left who seem to be kind of fine with that. Elizabeth Warren is chief on that list. Elizabeth Warren, she suggested, while appearing with Joy Reid, the least joyful Joy there is, that violence may not be the answer, but you can only push people so far.
We'll say it over and over. Violence is never the answer. This guy gets a trial who's allegedly killed the CEO of United Health. But you can only push people so far. And then they start to take matters into their own hands.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a natural consequence, you see. Well, it turns out that there are 100 million people, 200 million people in the United States who may not be happy with their health care. And it turns out it is not a natural consequence that they go and shoot the head of United Healthcare. It is not indicative of your level of pain, that if you have more pain, you are therefore morally absolved from shooting people. Because again, one of the principles we tend to hold sacred in a civilized society is you don't murder folks. The fact that this has now been made a subject of political debate is rather sick. It is a rather large problem. We should be disgusted by murder. Now, the question of what we do about the healthcare system is wildly complex. Anybody who attempts to simplify it beyond the complex is lying to you. That's particularly true of fools and leeches and complete pustules on the ass of society like Bernie Sanders. So Bernie Sanders continues in the aftermath. I mean, this would be like the second person in the last 10 years who's picked up Bernie Sanders' call to action with regard to healthcare and then picked up a gun and done something about it. You'll recall that it was a Bernie Sanders fan who shot up a congressional baseball game and nearly killed Steve Scalise, the House Majority Whip. Well, here's Bernie. He ain't stopping. Can't stop, won't stop if you're a socialist giant waste of space.
Is health care a human right? Should every American be entitled to health care, whether they're rich or poor, young or old? And you know what the American people say? They say, yeah, we do believe that.
Right.
And yet you'll have, to your point, very few people in Congress, in the Democratic Party, in the Republican Party, who really say, you know, health care is a human right. The function of health care should not be to make huge profits for the insurance companies and the drug companies, but to provide quality care to all people. Now, you know what? That's a hard thing to do for any country on earth. No system is perfect. But we have got to establish the premise healthcare is a human right, not just a commodity for large corporations to make money from.
Okay, let's be clear about what he's saying here. He is such a fool. He's a fool logically. He is a fool in terms of system building. It's just foolish. When he says healthcare is a human right, what he seems to mean by that is that healthcare descends from the clouds like rain on everyone. That is not how rights work. Okay, if I have a right to free speech, what that means is that you have a duty not to interfere with my free speech. If I have a right to a house, now what you're declaring is that I have a right to demand from a construction worker that he build me a house, that people provide me the resources for that house. That's a very different kind of thing. Declaring something a right that is not, in fact, just what you would have in the absence of other human action. If you declare something that I'm owed something from someone else, a right, if you do that, the natural consequence is that if someone denies you that thing, they are, quote unquote, denying you that right. Okay, now that is only problem number one with what he's saying. He is also seeming to suggest, and he admits that there's no perfect healthcare system. But then he says the American healthcare system is about creating profits, as though, again, profits are somehow the dramatic enemy of efficiency, of efficacy, of research and development. Okay, that's such a lie. It's stupid. If you nationalized healthcare today, healthcare across the United States in terms of quality would get worse. It did in Britain. It has pretty much everywhere it's been tried. The most successful healthcare systems are largely privatized healthcare systems, whether you're talking about Switzerland or whether you're talking about Singapore. But all of that's irrelevant. The bottom line is that what Bernie Sanders is actually doing is he is establishing a moral matrix in which anyone who opposes his agenda actually is in favor of death and thus deserves whatever is coming to them. This kind of politics is wrong, it is bad, and it is ugly. Well, society is supposed to value the sacred, but nothing is sacred when it comes to companies trying to sell you on fake deals. There's no shortage of flashy ads from the big wireless carriers offering the latest iPhone for free, but look a little deeper, you'll quickly realize what they actually mean. To qualify, you need to trade in your phone, not just any phone, one valued at $1,000. Then you're required to sign up for their $100 a month unlimited plan and pay that sneaky $35 activation fee on top of it all. That's a lot of money for something they call free. Don't fall for those marketing tricks. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, has a much better option. Get a brand new iPhone 14. It comes with all the bells and whistles you actually need. Plus, get unlimited talk, text, a generous 15 gigs of high-speed data, and mobile hotspot capability, all for just $50 a month. How about that? You're paying half the price of what the big guys charge, and you still get a new iPhone powered by America's most dependable 5G network. Do this. Go to puretalk.com/Shapiro today. Switching is super simple. Plus, when you go to puretalk.com/Shapiro, you'll get an additional 50% off your very first month of coverage. That's puretalk.com/Shapiro for an additional 50% off your very first month. That's Pure Talk, America's wireless company. The coverage is excellent. I've had it myself for years. Check them out, puretalk.com/Shapiro for that additional 50% off your first month. All right, meanwhile, the Trump transition continues to go swimmingly for the president-elect. President Trump has just been named the Time Person of the Year again. This will be his second time as Time Person of the Year, which, of course, perfectly deserved. I'm not sure who else it would be. Apparently, the other people who are on the list were Vice President Kamala Harris. She wasn't going to win, obviously. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Again, there's a case to be made, but when you're elected President of the United States for a second time after losing an election, that's pretty damned historic. And the entire world shapes itself to your priorities. Pretty amazing. Elon Musk was named a possibility, and Kate Middleton. Okay, so, again, big win for President Trump here. I'm sure that that will be framed. He called it a great honor back in 2016 and deemed Time magazine a great magazine at the time. This is reflective, by the way, of some of the poll numbers that have come out with regard to President Trump. He is enjoying, for the first time, a real honeymoon. So he really didn't get a honeymoon in 2016, 2017. Because too many people were so angry that he'd been elected in the first place. But he has a honeymoon now. Right now, in terms of dealing with the economy, 39% of Americans say they have a lot of confidence in President Trump dealing with the economy. And add to that another 27% who say that they have some confidence for President Trump in dealing with the economy. Adding up to 66% of the public, about somewhere in that neighborhood. Only 35% of the public suggests that they have no confidence in him. Handling the war between Russia and Ukraine. Full on 63% of Americans say that they have a lot of confidence or some confidence in him handling the war between Russia and Ukraine. When it comes to dealing with immigration policy, that number is 61%. When it comes to providing real leadership for the country, the number is 59%. Handling foreign affairs, 55%. Even when it comes to things like using the power of the presidency responsibly, he has a 54% approval rating. People saying they have a lot of confidence or some confidence in him. This is a real polling honeymoon for the president-elect, and there's a reason for that. It's because he's already the president. Let's be real about this. No one thinks of Joe Biden as the president of the United States. No one. Because his term was a waste of space. He set the world on fire. He lit 40-year highs in inflation, and he's still president, and he's dead, and everyone knows it. Somewhere, Joe Biden is still wandering the earth like Bigfoot, a mythical creature, deemed humanoid. But nobody knows where he is, what he's doing, or why anyone considers him president anymore. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.